The average American eats at McDonald's around 90 times a year. That is nearly every 4 days. That is like inviting Ronald McDonald over for lunch on a weekly rotation, red shoes, painted smile, and all. But before you pull into that drive-thru on autopilot, there is something you probably should hear first. Because that familiar smell drifting out of the vents, that golden glow of the arches at night, it is doing exactly what it was engineered to do. And once you understand how deep that engineering goes, you might never look at a Big Mac the same way again. Last month, I left a McDonald's cheeseburger on my kitchen counter by accident. Not in the fridge, not wrapped up, just sitting there on the counter like a forgotten thought. 3 days later, I walked past it and did a double take. No mold, no smell, no visible change whatsoever. It looked exactly like it did the moment I unwrapped it. I made a grilled chicken sandwich at home that same week. By day 2, it had already started turning. A real piece of food decays. McDonald's food just waits, patiently, like it has nowhere else to be. McDonald's has built its entire empire on one promise. Simple, honest beef. 100% pure beef, they say. And technically, they are not lying. But technically and truthfully are two very different things. That beef starts its journey in a processing plant, where low-grade trimmings from multiple parts of the cow get ground together, mixed with additives for consistency, shaped into uniform patties, and flash frozen before being shipped in bulk to restaurants across the country. By the time that patty hits your tray, it has been through more processing steps than a passport application. The uniformity is the tell. Every McDonald's burger in every city, in every state, tastes exactly the same. That is not cooking. That is manufacturing. Real beef, cooked by a real person with real heat, varies. One patty is juicier, one has more char, one browns differently depending on thickness. At McDonald's, each patty is cooked on an automated grill that applies the exact same pressure, the exact same heat, for the exact same number of seconds every single time. There is no chef making adjustments. There is no intuition. There is just a machine replicating a machine's previous work. A former McDonald's grill cook once told me that if a patty comes out slightly undercooked or overcooked, it gets served anyway. The line moves too fast to stop and question it. Management tracks how many seconds each order takes. Quality is secondary to speed, and when speed is the priority, the burger on your tray is whatever came out of that machine, whether it was ready or not. Let us talk about chicken nuggets, the item that children worship, the thing adults order at midnight and pretend they did not. McDonald's nuggets are one of the most consumed fast food items in the world, and most people have absolutely no idea what is actually inside them. The process starts at the supplier. Chicken, and here the word chicken is doing a lot of generous work, gets stripped, blended, and processed into what the industry calls a slurry, a pale, soft paste of mechanically separated meat mixed with fillers, binders, and flavor agents. That slurry gets shaped into those familiar little nugget forms, coated in a starch-based batter, flash frozen, and shipped in boxes to McDonald's locations where they sit in freezers for weeks before ever seeing a fryer. A leaked supplier video that circulated online showed the full process in vivid detail. The comments ranged from horrified to philosophical. One person wrote, "I feel like I owe my stomach an apology." Another simply said, "I am never recovering from this." McDonald's has stated the process has improved over the years. Former workers describe the nuggets as little mystery cubes that arrive frozen, get dropped in oil, and come out golden. That is not cooking. That is just heating something up and hoping for the best. A customer once bit into a nugget and found it completely hollow, just air inside the batter shell. Commented online with a photo. The caption read, "Paid $2.50 for a nugget that contains nothing. Somehow still the best deal on the menu." That joke landed because somewhere underneath it was a truth nobody wanted to sit with too long. There are entire websites dedicated to tracking whether your local McDonald's McFlurry machine is working on any given day. Think about that for a moment. A global corporation with over 40,000 locations worldwide, billions served, And yet the ice cream machine is so reliably broken that someone built a public tracking tool for it, and millions of people use it unironically. It is not a maintenance issue, it is a policy issue. The soft-serve machines require an intensive cleaning cycle that takes hours. Disassembly, sterilization, reassembly, recalibration. Many locations skip this entirely because it takes too long and disrupts service. Others mark the machine as broken when it is technically running, but management does not want to deal with the cleaning process. One former employee described the situation plainly. The machine is either broken, pretending to be broken, or growing something interesting inside it. Those are the three settings. One customer drove to 4 different McDonald's locations in a single evening looking for a working McFlurry machine. She documented the entire trip online. Every location, every employee shrug, every apologetic sign. By the 4th stop, she said she was not even craving ice cream anymore. She just wanted to win. She did not win. Nobody wins against the McFlurry machine. The fries are the crown jewel, the thing McDonald's is most famous for, the item that people genuinely love even when they question everything else on the menu. Golden, crispy, salty, impossible to eat just one of, and they did not get that way by accident. McDonald's fries are engineered. The potatoes are selected for uniformity, sliced with industrial precision, blanched, dried, coated in a starch-based batter for extra crunch, partially fried at the factory, flash frozen, shipped to restaurants, and finished in the fryer at the location. That is 6 separate processes before a single fry reaches your hand. Real fries made from scratch are a potato, some oil, and some salt. McDonald's fries are a project. The oil situation is where it gets harder to stomach. Fryer oil at some locations reportedly goes multiple days without being changed. The darker the fry, the more bitter the flavor, the older the oil. One former employee in Florida described management's solution to old, dark, bitter fries as direct and telling. Add extra salt and hope nobody says anything. Salt is the great concealer of fast food. If something tastes off, add more salt. If something is bland, more salt. If someone might notice the fry oil has not been changed since Tuesday, aggressively more salt. Former employees have also confirmed that fries that cool down in the tray get recycled back under the heat lamp rather than thrown out and replaced. That limp, sad, chewy fry you got at the bottom of the bag, that is not a fresh fry that cooled down. That is a fry that has been sitting under a lamp for longer than anyone officially wants to admit. The breakfast menu gets a pass from most people. McMuffins, McGriddles, hash browns. It feels simpler somehow, more innocent, like McDonald's is just making eggs and calling it a day. But the breakfast menu carries its own set of secrets that deserve a closer look. The eggs used in most McDonald's breakfast sandwiches arrive at the restaurant in liquid form, pre-cracked, pre-mixed, and poured from a large refrigerated container onto the grill. The round eggs you see on McMuffins are poured into metal rings to achieve that perfect uniform circle. That consistency you admire? It is a mold. Real eggs are not round. They are oval and irregular, and no two are exactly alike. A perfectly round egg is a restaurant's way of telling you it did not start as an egg you would recognize. The McGriddle pancake patties, those syrup-infused sweet buns that somehow work as both bread and dessert, arrive frozen, pre-made, pre-sweetened, reheated on a grill that may or may not have been properly cleaned from the night before. A former overnight worker once shared that the grill cleaning at Close was, on particularly busy nights, more of a visual wipe than an actual sanitization. The morning crew inherited whatever was left behind. That buttery, maple-scented McGriddle has some history baked into it. One employee shared that the syrup served at breakfast comes from industrial bags stored in the back. The bags sometimes leak and accumulate on the shelves. In warmer months, those sticky surfaces attract exactly what you would expect them to attract. The description did not need to be more specific than that. The imagination does the rest. McDonald's invested heavily in those giant touchscreen freestyle soda machines. Sleek, modern, hundreds of flavor combinations. They look clean because the outside is wiped down regularly, but the inside is a different conversation entirely. A technician who services and maintains those machines for multiple fast food chains shared what conditions typically look like behind the panels. Mold in the tubing, syrup buildup in the dispensing lines, sticky residue around the nozzles that standard restaurant cleaning does not reach. He said some of the machines he opens up look like they have not been properly cleaned since installation, not because the staff is lazy, but because the cleaning protocol for the internal components requires tools and time that most locations do not prioritize during a normal shift. The ice bins attached to those machines carry their own concerns. Multiple food safety inspections have documented mold, slime buildup, and bacterial growth inside McDonald's ice machines. One inspector noted that the ice production unit at a location he visited was visibly less clean than the restroom. That is not a comparison anyone wants made about something that goes into their drink. The next time you add ice to your Coke, picture where that ice came from. Not the cup. The machine behind the machine. McDonald's has spent years trying to appear health conscious. Salads on the menu, apple slices in the Happy Meal, grilled options instead of fried, the word fresh appearing in marketing with increasing frequency. But the numbers tell a different story than the branding. A Big Mac with a medium fries and a medium Coke lands at over 1,100 calories. That is more than half the daily recommended intake for most adults, in a single meal eaten in under 10 minutes. The double quarter pounder with cheese pushes past 700 calories on its own before a single fry or sip of soda. The McFlurry with Oreos, assuming the machine is working, which it is not, clocks in at over 500 calories for a medium. That is a dessert with more calories than some people eat for an entire lunch. The sodium situation is equally striking. A large order of fries carries over 400 milligrams of sodium. The quarter pounder with cheese adds another 110. A medium soft drink brings in whatever sugar the syrup ratio decides that day. By the time you finish a standard value meal, you have consumed enough sodium to account for the majority of your daily recommended limit, and enough sugar to light up the reward centers of your brain in exactly the way that keeps you coming back. A nutritionist I spoke to described McDonald's menu design in terms that stuck with me. She said the combinations are not random. Salt, fat, and sugar in the specific ratios McDonald's uses trigger the brain's dopamine system in a way that natural food rarely does. It is not that the food tastes good, it is that it is engineered to make your brain believe it does. There is a meaningful difference between those two things. Health inspection records across McDonald's locations in multiple states paint a picture that does not match the cheerful imagery of the dining room. Recurring citations for improper food storage, unclean surfaces, cross-contamination between raw and cooked items, employees handling raw beef and then touching equipment, cups, or fry scoops without washing their hands in between. One inspector in Michigan documented a specific incident in detail. A crew member handled a raw beef patty, adjusted their headset with the same gloved hand, and then proceeded to scoop fries for another order without changing gloves or washing hands. That sequence was observed during a lunch rush. The inspector noted that the pace of service made it structurally difficult for staff to follow proper hygiene protocols consistently. The problem was not one person, it was the system. Former overnight employees from multiple locations have confirmed that deep cleaning protocols often get shortened or skipped entirely when closing time approaches and staff want to leave. Grills get wiped but not properly degreased. Floors get mopped but not sanitized. The ice machine gets noted as cleaned on the log without the full cleaning actually taking place. One employee described the approach plainly. The goal is clean enough to pass, not clean enough to feel confident about. Those are two very different standards. There is a genre of photography that exists specifically to document the gap between McDonald's advertised products and what actually arrives in your hands. Thousands of posts, millions of views. The Whopper that looked like a skyscraper in the ad and arrived looking like it had been sat on, reconsidered, and handed through a window anyway. The advertising uses professional food stylists, specialized lighting rigs, and hours of setup to make a burger look like architecture. Steam is pumped in. Sesame seeds are individually placed. The cheese is draped with surgical precision. The lettuce is chosen leaf by leaf. Then that image goes on a billboard 30 feet wide, and your brain files it as what McDonald's looks like. What arrives in the bag is a different product entirely. Same name, same logo, very different relationship with gravity and structural integrity. One customer posted a side-by-side of a Big Mac from the commercial and the Big Mac they received. The commercial version looked like something you would frame and hang in a dining room. Their version looked like the ingredients had been introduced to each other briefly and then given up. The caption read, "One of these cost $7. The other cost a team of professionals 2 days of work to produce." The post got 500,000 likes, not because it was a unique experience, because it was universal. A friend of mine gave up McDonald's for 30 days. He was not on a health kick. He was not making a statement. He had just started noticing that he felt genuinely terrible every single time he ate there, and he wanted to see what would happen if he stopped. The first week was harder than he expected, not because he was hungry, because the habit ran so deep he did not realize how automatic it had become. He would be driving and his hands would signal for the exit before his brain had consciously decided anything. He described it as his car having muscle memory. He had to consciously override a reflex he did not even know he had built. By the end of week 2, something shifted. The bloating he had normalized as just how he felt after lunch started disappearing. The afternoon energy crash he had blamed on work stress, on poor sleep, on everything except his food, became noticeably less severe. His skin, which he had never connected to diet in any conscious way, started clearing up. He was not doing anything else differently. He had changed one variable, and the results were visible. When the 30 days ended, he decided to go back once, just one meal, for the sake of comparison. He drove in, ordered his usual, sat down, and took the first bite. He said it tasted different. Not worse exactly, but different in a way he could not ignore now that he had 30 days of distance from it. The salt hit first and hit hard. The beef tasted flat underneath the sauce. The bun was soft in a way that felt more like it had been engineered to be soft than naturally so. He finished the meal and within an hour felt the familiar heaviness settling in that he had not felt in a month. He said the experience was like running into someone you used to spend a lot of time with and realizing the whole relationship had been built on comfort and habit rather than anything that actually served you. You do not hate them. You just see them clearly now, and clearly is sometimes all it takes. McDonald's positions itself on value, dollar menus, meal deals, the idea that you are getting more for less. And in the short term, the math works. A burger and fries for under $5 is genuinely cheaper than most alternatives. But value calculations that only count today are missing most of the equation. One doctor I spoke to described what she calls the deferred billing of fast food. You pay a small amount now, your body absorbs the cost over time. Elevated blood pressure. Insulin resistance from repeated sugar and sodium spikes. Inflammation that compounds quietly over years. The doctor visits eventually required to address those conditions. The medication. The energy lost on days when you feel sluggish and cannot identify why. The actual bill for that $5 burger is paid over a decade, in portions you never see itemized. She said something that stayed with me. Does not give you health problems. It gives you the conditions under which health problems become likely. That distinction matters because it makes the connection feel distant, deniable. One burger is not going to hurt you, but twice a week for 20 years is a different conversation, and McDonald's is counting on the distance between those two truths to keep you from connecting them. I tracked down a former McDonald's manager who had worked in the system for over 8 years across multiple locations. I asked him what he thought about the food now that he was on the outside. He paused longer than I expected before answering. He said, when you see the process every day, it stops being food in your mind. You see it as components: patty, bun, sauce, assembly. The language of the system removes the food language. He stopped thinking of it as a meal somewhere around year 2 and just thought of it as product. And once something becomes product in your head, you stop relating to it the way you relate to food. He said he had not eaten there since leaving, not out of protest, just because once you have seen the inside of the system, the outside never looks the same. He said, I know exactly how it is made, exactly what goes into it, exactly how long things sit before they reach the tray. That knowledge does not make it easy to look at it the same way. I asked if he missed it. He said he missed the idea of it. The smell on a cold night, the familiarity, but not the reality. The reality, he said, is something most customers are better off not seeing. This is not only about McDonald's. McDonald's is the clearest example of something that runs through the entire fast food industry. The system is built on a fundamental trade. You give up quality, transparency, and long-term well-being. You receive convenience, speed, and a hit of salt and fat that your brain temporarily mistakes for satisfaction. That trade has been made so many times, by so many people, so automatically, that it has stopped feeling like a trade. It just feels like eating. Like a normal Tuesday, like what lunch looks like when you are busy and you need something fast. But normal and good are not synonyms. And fast and nourishing have almost nothing to do with each other. Here is a simple challenge. Try making a burger at home this week. Real ground beef, a real bun, some cheese, some lettuce, whatever you like. It will take longer. The kitchen will smell like cooking, which is a different smell than the engineered scent pumped through McDonald's ventilation. It will not be uniform. One side might be more cooked than the other. The shape will be imperfect, and it will taste like food made by a person who was paying attention, not a machine replicating a specification. Then notice how you feel an hour later, 2 hours later, the next morning. Notice what is different. We are not saying you can never eat at McDonald's again. This is not about guilt. It is about awareness, about understanding the distance between what the marketing promises and what the product delivers, about knowing that the golden arches are not a guarantee of quality. They are a guarantee of consistency, and consistent does not mean good. It just means the same. The billions served number that McDonald's has displayed for decades is often read as a measure of satisfaction. It is actually a measure of reach, of how thoroughly the brand embedded itself into the daily habit of a planet. There is a difference between eating something because it genuinely serves you and eating something because it is there, it is familiar, and your brain has been trained over years to associate the smell with reward. You deserve to know which one you are doing. If you made it this far, you are already asking better questions than most people in the drive-thru line right now. What you do with that is entirely up to you. But whatever choice you make next time you pass those arches, let it be a real choice, a conscious one, not a reflex, not a habit mistaken for hunger, because at the end of the day, you are not just choosing a meal, you are choosing what you believe you are worth, and you are worth a great deal more than a reheated patty in a paper wrapper. Ronald McDonald has a great smile, but your body will thank you for looking past it. If this changed how you see your next McDonald's run, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who eats there every week. They need this more than you do.